Family, welcome back. The time has come. And not only is it my birth month, but my favorite band has just dropped a new album. And if you couldn't tell from if I can get this right, from the poster over here for Gore, I've been listening to Deftones for a long time, ever since I was probably 11 or 12. I was born in 98, so we were bumping that back in the day. Back on the school bus, had my headphones in, bumping, you know, uh, pins and needles and rocket skates and all kinds of stuff, man. This got me through a lot of times. And yeah, I mean it's crazy that they're still putting out quality music. I've heard great reviews about this. Really excited for it. I think it's been about 5 years since Ohms came out, so it was about time that they came out with a new album. I have to admit that when people were posting this image for the album art, I was skeptical, considering this looks like a Google image from like 2007, and people were showing it around on Facebook and Instagram, being like, "Oh, well, this is the leaked album cover and stuff," and I was like, "There is no way that they would use this image," and they did. So I stand corrected. My favorite color is green. Maybe it's going to grow on me, and that is a beautiful snake. I've got a cousin of mine that is a reptile handler. Collects reptiles and I think runs some stuff at the sanctuary or something like that. But anyway, I digress. I like snakes, and maybe the album cover is going to become iconic. Maybe some people said the same thing about White Pony back in the day. I don't know. Pretty minimalist, so how could they? But I digress. Let's jump into this. If I start having audio issues in this video, I apologize. We got a new kitten that decided to eat up my headphones, so I only have one of them that I can use to actually hear the music, so that's not going to work. And I've got some AirPods in, like a Beats AirPod that my girlfriend got me for my birthday. And so if I'm having any audio issues, I apologize. Feel free to give me some shit over in the comments. And let's dig in. And before we get into this, to where we're going to listen to this, I also just want to say rest in peace to Brent Hines of Mastodon. That guy has had a hand in making some of my favorite music of all time. Around the same time that I was getting to Deftones, I discovered Mastodon as well. I remember being like 12 or 13, hearing my dad had a Sirius XM radio and on Octane. That was around the time that the Hunter was coming out, and Dry Bone Valley played, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, I'd never heard anything like it before. And ever since then, I've just, been in love with their music. I've crowd surfed one time in my life. That was at Louder Than Life, 2022. And I crowd surfed during them playing Blood and Thunder. So Mastodon is a really important band to me, and that was a loss that has affected me, more than I really ever could have thought about somebody I didn't even know. And to his friends and family and bandmates and anybody who is affected by his loss, just know that you're in my prayers and I'm thinking of you. And I hope that brings you comfort of some kind. But yeah, rest in peace to him, and all the support and love goes to his family and friends and bandmates. And with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get in. I won't ramble any longer, so let's dig into this. I'm also going into this blind. I refuse to listen to anything. I was going to save it so I could share that with you guys. So I appreciate you being here with me. off to a very good start. There is, with this, something that they always have done very well. That song kind of reminds me a lot of kind of the placement of Swerve City in Genesis, where it starts the albums off to like this big boom and bang, just kind of like laying down the framework for the album. And I really like what they were doing with the guitar in there, where it had like that like of course shoegazy kind of thing, but it reminds me a lot of Fleshwater, who they actually just went on tour with, and who I'm actually going to get to see along with them at Louder Than Life this year. If any of you all are going to be there and see me, come say hello. But it reminds me a lot of what Fleshwater does, where they put a lot of reverb on that, which Deftones have always done that. It just sounded a lot more prominent from what I could tell in that track, but off to a really good start. I'm really enjoying it. And the lyrics seem good too, and his voice sounds as good as ever. So I really like the production on this as well. So let's get into this one. This is Locked Club. A little preview of Ecstasies in that one too. Already I can tell that they're taking a lot more risks with this album, which is when I like Deftones at best. It seems like they're letting their DJ and also Stephen Carpenter just do their thing on here. This is very groove heavy and very like there's a lot of like, I don't want to say techno, but like a lot of electronic in there, like a lot of beats and stuff, and it's very multi-layered, which is when I think that they're at their best. And that last song, it almost seemed to me like what Gore should have sounded like if it had better production on it. Like the grooves were there, like it almost seemed like, and maybe that's because Doomed User is the second track on Gore, so maybe I'm just like comparing the two. But it seemed like it would fit better with something like that. Like it seems like it would have been one of the better songs or even a single from that album had it had better production. But excellent song. I like both of those a lot. Ecstasies, it sounds like it's going to be kind of electronically inclined as well. So let's find out. Oh, baseline. Oh yeah, I love this one already.
Can we sit here silent, just hoping to survive it? What can do? Acres divided and spiraling entirely again. Lost and rolling, shakes up bones away, descending through our blood inside these waves. Rivers rising, swollen streams dividing. What cut its way through the
Oh shit.
valleys while dividing entirely again? They said because I base our towns away, ascending to running inside these waves. The frames are alive, became meteorites. These frames are divine, became their environment. I can phase lost and rolling, shakes our bones away, descending through our blood inside these waves. This time because I base our course away, ascending to running inside these waves.
Oh, that was excellent. This was great. That bass line they laid it down with, and the guitar riff like creeping up, like that's when they're at their best, I swear. And they're not fucking around with this album at all. Every single track has sounded flawless. Oh shit! Let's go.
Just say you're down, and pull me close. Hold on to me. Face the crowd. Take hold of me. Hold me tight. Hold me tight.
that last track too, um, Infinite Source. That last little bit right there sounded just like something that would be from like Hum. If you all aren't familiar with Hum, you should get familiar with them. That's where Deftones had drawn a lot of inspiration for their sound that they kind of evolved into on more of like Around the Fur and White Pony era. The White Pony album cover is actually a reference to the Hum album You Prefer an Astronaut, at least according to some sources. I don't know if that's anything that any of the band members have actually confirmed or not, but that's what I've heard. And a lot of the guitar work in that was kind of reminiscent of it, especially the last little section closing out. But that was a great track too. There was a lot going on in that. I'll be interested to listen back to this and pick up on some stuff that I might have missed, especially maybe once I have access to a little bit better audio output for me, at least in these headphones. I don't know if it's going to sound better for you guys on the other end once this video is uploaded. If the audio is kind of butchered, I apologize. I'm doing the best I can right now. But yeah, I mean, another excellent track. The guitar work and kind of the composition of it reminded me almost of something that would have been on Saturday Night Wrist, or it even reminded me kind of um, there's a track that you can find online, and the real ones know, the real the real Deftones fans know about a track that they have called Smile. Smile was a track that was previously unreleased from an album that they were working on after Saturday Night Wrist called Euros. When Chi Chang died, rest in peace to him as well, when he passed away, they shelved what they had got done for that album, and it's remained shelved to this day, except for one track that was uploaded that was called Smile, and it was uploaded after he passed. And and I got my story wrong there. Actually, he had actually gotten into an accident and went into a coma after Saturday Night Wrist, a couple of years after. It was only until he passed a few years later that they ended up leaking that song out. And they actually leaked it out in opposition of their record label, which told them no at the time. But once it was out there, of course, as we all know, the internet is forever. And you can find another unreleased kind of like a demo track, but it's not a fully recorded track called, I believe it's called Dallas. And a lot of the guitar work that I'm hearing from this album in specific, and a lot of the stuff that they had going on, is I wouldn't doubt if they use some previously unreleased bits from Euros for this, because that's what it sounds like to me. Smile's a great track. You should definitely check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, this would have been at home there, or even another section from Gore. It sounded like some of what Gore probably should have been had it been mixed better. But it would have fit right in with Saturday Night Wrist too, I think. And this one already, this souvenir song, just from the couple of seconds that we listened to, it sounded very, very heavily like shoegaze, where it's, and I hate using that term for Deftones, but that's what it is. It's like a wall of reverb and noise from that riff pushing out. It's almost like a light black metal kind of way, or like even like a Death Heaven kind of thing, which is a weird comparison. But yeah, let's get back into this. I think this one's going to be slower and then it's going to jump up.
As you drift off in bed, residing in translucent walls you've made crumble down. I
Longest track on the album so far. Yep, I knew they were going to do something like a big switch up towards the end. See where it takes us. I was wondering when they were going to bust up the synth, because I knew it was coming at some point, especially for tracks like the two. I just think they're too good for it not to use it. Good. It's going to lead into the next one. Oh, here we go. That's about to pop off. There we go. First order of business here. The title CXZ, is that supposed to mean sexy? Like, or am I stupid? Am I is that what that means, or am I the troglodyte here? Like somebody tell me in the comments if I'm being like looking too deep into that, or I mean, I think I'm too old to understand that. So if they're using that, like if that's actually the title is like CXZ, like is that supposed to mean sexy, or does that stand for something? Or am I retarded? Like somebody tell me in the comments so I don't look like a jackass if it is, so I can educate myself so I don't call it that to somebody in public. And secondly, that little interlude that they did, like in the break between the instruments, where it's like, like that whole number. This is gonna be maybe like an obscure reference to some of you, but I mean, some of you back in the day that were listening to them in the 2000s might know. There was a game. And you can see my Silent Hill 3 shirt. Let me give you a better look. Let me give you a better look at this thing. Check out Heather Mason on the front of that. Real ones know about Silent Hill, dude. Real ones know how good Silent Hill used to be. And anyway, there was a game back in the day called Hitman Contracts. Everybody knows about Hitman, but a lot of people haven't played Contracts. It's my favorite. But Contracts, the soundtrack to it was done by Jesper Kidd, who's a really, really talented composer. And a lot of Deftones music has little interludes in it like that, which remind me a lot of the soundtrack, especially in their self-titled album, like Lucky You. But there's like a few other little portions that remind me of that soundtrack. And this song, like in that little interlude, it reminds me of it in a way. And like I said, maybe that's just me being schizo-brained and making like maybe it doesn't really, maybe I have to go back and listen to it again. But if that's a reference that you guys remember, like listen to the OST on YouTube, like listen to the soundtrack and find like Winter's Night and find some of these like little like electronic tracks in it that are like dark electronic and see if you get what I mean. Like see if it gives you the same vibe as some of their songs. And yeah, maybe I'm crazy. I like that one a lot. It had some really good parts. And let's see where it takes us next here. Think about you all the time. It's real sad the way I was.
You say you're refrain, and I'm out of my mind. All of my life, you've been the same. All of our days.
Take bets right now. Take bets right now. If you think this song is going to stay this way all the way through, I think it will get slightly faster, but I don't expect any heavy chugging guitar riffs or anything like that. I think it'll stay kind of this way through this track. A lot of this album has also reminded me of his side project, of Chino's side project, Crosses. They had a new album that come out in the last couple of years, and I haven't listened to it yet. I listened to a couple of tracks, but a lot of the stuff in this one's reminding me of that. But yeah, take bets if you think it's going to stay this way. I think it's going to stay relatively the same pace, this song. I think this is the anniversary of an uninteresting event of this album right here. Or Riviere, however you pronounce that.
Will never change. Talks TV all seem plays, and we're out of our minds. Say all of my life will never change. All of our days, show me the way.
Excellent. First things first, great transition in between songs. Secondly, you cannot convince me that they don't have any idea about how big they are on TikTok. That song and several of these songs actually are going to be plastered all over TikTok now that they're out there. The TikTok girlies are going to continue to tarnish the reputation of us normal, non-gooner Deftones fans that have been around since the beginning. I'll get my Trump hand signal out here. The non-gooner type part of the fan base, dude. Stop abusing yourself with gooning, please. But Deftones is horny music. I can't really blame you for doing it. If you're gonna do it any band, any alternative band, I mean, there could be worse bands you could pick. You could use I don't know, Avenged Sevenfold or something. Um, Avenged Sevenfold you in half like a lawn chair. Anyway, yeah, I like that song a lot. It, like I said previously, they're using a lot of their hum influence on this. I think those big like walls of sound, and then you can hear the drums very prominently in the back, outside of all this reverb. It reminds me more of Hum's album Inlet that they came out with. I think 2020. I think they came out with it around the same time period that Ohms came out. And yeah, I like that track a lot. Really, there's not been a track yet that I've disliked, but yeah, I like this one quite a bit. Milk of the Madonna, this track was another one of the ones that they released as a single, I believe. I have not listened to it either, so let's find out if it's single worthy. Something tells me yes. synth phasing out, beautiful.
Holy Ghost.
Holy Blues. I think that's the best song yet. Truthfully. That was firing on all cylinders, dude. Not only not only was it firing on all cylinders, I love the lyrics. The lyrics didn't come off as cheesy at all. And us Deftones fans know every now and again they lean into certain themes a little too hard, in my opinion. But this, I really like the lyrics to it. The way that the tempo like it would go up and down and like like kind of transition, but the way that it fed into it and the way that it was just so multi-layered and flowed seamlessly, that's my favorite kind of tracks. This is honestly probably the best track so far on this album, and I can see why they made it a lead single. Well, actually, no, I think My Mind Is a Mountain was a lead single, but I can see why they made it a single to promote the album. That is peak Deftones right there. And honestly, if you've looked on some of my other stuff on the channel too, I'm a big fan of Loathe, of course. I've seen Loathe a couple of times. I've never actually got to see Deftones live. I'm going to get to see them in about a month at Louder Than Life. Come and say hello if you see me. I might be dressed as Elvis. That's not a joke. I did that last year. But that is the thing that I love the most about Loathe and bands like them is how they can transition seamlessly from like this soft or like grooving to synth to shredding your face off, making you feel like you're being trampled to death. And it's just beautiful. I feel like this song is encapsulating everything that I love about Deftones and alternative music. Really, I love that. I can't wait to listen to it again. But before I do listen to it again, I got to get through the rest of this album. So,
Because you would answer, it's what you're after from me. Keep you floating on dead space. You're coming unchained from me.
okay, let's go.
Let me pick you up another day. Fuck you, I'm okay now. What? You're poking at the outcome. You're running system now. Your mind is getting heavy. Now put me on the rock.
fucking go, dude. Metal Rhythm. Well, that one sounds promising already. Is anybody getting on a couple of these songs that have happened? Like his delivery is more like a rap delivery, like he would have excuse me, like he would have gave on like Back to School. You know, everybody knows that track, Back to School, like the rap track. I'm not personally a big fan of Back to School myself, but these tracks where he's got like a rap delivery on these, like it gives it like a little bit of like a bite and like a it's not your typical rhythm that you get from Deftones a lot of the time. And that track reminded me of another track of theirs, but I can't think of exactly which one. Maybe it's Streetcar that I'm thinking of, where it's got like the it's just got a lot of bite where he's like, you know, did you get it? Did you write it down? Did you get it? And like where he's doing it fast like that. But then, damn, dude, that outro that reminded me a lot of not only the Diamond Eyes outro, but a little bit of the one from Rosemary as well. They're so good at that. And hearing what I'm assuming is the DJ go through with some dials and pedals like that on top of the guitar, bro, bro, peak Deftones, dude. This is peak. And this is, spoiler alert, this is already a much more favorable listening experience to me personally than Ohms was. I don't dislike Ohms, but when I listened to it, I was not really particularly like blown away by anything. This, and maybe it's not going to be the same once I give it a couple more listens all the way through. This is balling. This is peak. So let's see if they can keep it up.
Step into your controls, deep into the heart of the abyss. Searching for a solace we created far beyond what exists. Sick and tired of humming tunes, throwing out our time as we embrace. Deeply enthralled in your grasp.
Not at all where I thought the sound of that track was going. That I'm not musically savvy enough to know, but it almost sounds like not exactly an industrial drum, but where they hit it and it's like hollow like that. I don't know if that's like a snare or what that is. But actually, ironically enough, somewhere where you can find a lot of that is in the Silent Hill soundtracks. They use it very, very well, and yeah, that's doing a lot of favors for them, especially for this track right here. I like that. So I didn't think once they were doing that, I thought they were going to go heavier. I didn't think it was going to lighten up, but I mean, we've still got 2.5 minutes left of this song, so that could change real quick. See, they're edging us a little bit. I think he's gonna get with that and just let it loose here in a minute. I think they're edging us and kind of like leading us along, buttering us up. Then he's gonna let it loose with it here in a minute. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. That's something that I've missed about Deftones since like the self-titled album is how heavy they can get sometimes. I feel like they've lost a little bit of that sound over the years and embraced more of the softer side. But you know, they haven't lost it completely. So let's see what's happening. not a bad song. They edged us just a little too much for my liking with that one. It's definitely not bad. Departed in the Body. I think this is the final track, family. Pretty sure. I love this intro so far. Yep, the glitching. Deftones.exe has stopped working.
There's a room we hang in space. It's clear, cold, 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 cold. A total lie. It's all that remains. How slips these days apart. I know
That's excellent. That also reminds me of Akira Yamaoka from the Silent Hill soundtracks. All right, family. I believe that is the end, and if you made it this far, thank you for sticking with me through the whole thing. And I mean, yeah, that was. Hear me out. Hear me out here, family. That I don't feel like Deftones' closing tracks are the strongest part of their albums. As a matter of fact, most of their closing tracks, a lot of the time, are my least favorites from the album. Not always, but like I think Moana is one of the weaker tracks on the self-titled. I think for as stellar of an album as Koi no Yokon is, I think What Happened to You is probably one of the weaker tracks, if not the weakest, on that album as well. And I know not everybody's gonna agree with that because, like, I mean, Around the Fur has MX. I mean, if you're not counting Damone, but it has MX, which is a great track and nowhere near the weakest on that album. But for this one, I feel like this was one of the stronger closing tracks that they've had, especially in the last several years. Um, I think that was probably the strongest closing one, which I liked. I think the closing track on Gore was Rubicon, and it was okay. But that might be the strongest closing track that they've had since This Place Is Death, if not Riviere. And Riviere came out in like 2005, dude. So I mean, yeah, I like that track, and overall my feelings about the album. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this, and maybe this is just like extreme recency bias since I just now got done listening. It's fresh in my ears. Maybe I'll change my mind once I sit and listen to it again with possibly better audio output. Um, I think that this might just be the best music that Deftones has produced in the last decade and a half. Well, excuse me, not decade and a half, but the last decade. I don't know that I would position it above Koi no Yokon because I don't know. There's very few records that achieve that level of mastery. I think that that's like a top tier Deftones album. But in their post Koi no Yokon discography, I think that this blows Gore and Ohms out of the water completely. I like this album a lot. I immediately, as soon as I close this video out, I promise you I'm going to boot this album back up and I'm going to listen to it again. I'm going to keep listening to it. I drive for work, it's going to stay on in my car because I mean, I'm really, really impressed with what they've done here. And I was skeptical, but as it turns out, they've deserved all of the good reviews that they've been getting, and they deserve their flowers. And yeah, I mean, this has my seal of approval. If I had to rate it out of 10, I would probably give it a strong 8, personally. I would give it an 8. Yeah, I'd give it an 8. I'll settle on that. I was going to say maybe an 8.5. I think an 8 is fair. There was a couple of tracks in there that didn't wow me. Uh, I think that Souvenir is going to be a track that's going to be better on a re-listen. But I mean, especially like I think the highlights of it were I like Cut Hands a lot. I like Milk of the Madonna a lot. I need to look back at the track listing. There was a lot of them that I really, really enjoyed off of this one. And yeah, yeah, I'm gonna if I keep this going any longer, if I keep this video on any longer past this point, you're gonna watch me break my arms jerking off over this album, dude. It's that good. It's that good. And on top of this, potentially this year, we could be getting new Deftones. We're going to be getting new Fleshwater in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to be blind reacting to that too, so please subscribe if you want to see that. And we could potentially be getting new Loathe before the new year. We're eating good this year, family. We're eating good. I'm here for it. If you want to come join along, I would love to have you in my comment section. Even if you want to be a hater, tell me my opinion. Shit, say, dude, Milk of the Madonna sucks ass. It's the worst song that they've had since Pink Cell Phone. Yeah. And that. If you want to have that opinion, you're wrong, but feel free to tell me about it. And you're double wrong because Pink Cell Phone's actually a good song and all the real ones know it. But anyway, I digress. Thank you for joining me in this experience, family. I'm glad I got to share it with you. And I hope that I was entertaining enough to let you all stick around with me for this long. But if I wasn't, I love you anyway. And I love all of you in general. Thank you, family. And until next time, have a good one. Stay blessed.